Hey y'all, welcome back to my tunnel. I am so glad that you're here. Welcome to my channel. Y'all, today is another exciting day on the homestead. So if you are brand new here, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I hope that you will stay to the end of this video, and I hope that you will go ahead and subscribe in faith, because I think that you're going to love it right here in this community. And for those that keep coming back, I appreciate you 100%. You guys are the most kindest, sweetest community I could ever even want. You guys always are sending me messages telling me how much you appreciate the channel, how much you appreciate what I do. And let me just tell you, it doesn't go unnoticed. I never get to, because you never know when your message hits, that may be the day that I feel like, is anybody listening? Is anybody watching? So I appreciate all of your kind comments, but I am on mission. I am on mission to help as many gardeners as I can find their sweet spot, find a safe space to learn how to garden without all of the overwhelm. So 5 years ago, I started my first garden. I had never put my hands in dirt. And now 5 years later, I'm putting my hands in dirt every single day. And this channel is all about inspiring you to grow food more abundantly. And this is a safe space to ask your questions, to feel uncomfortable, to learn whatever you need. That is what this channel is all about. Today, y'all, we are talking about tomatoes, and it's time for me to start pruning my tomatoes. Yes, already, and to start trellising the tomatoes. So that's what we're going to do on this video. I'm going to talk to you about the trellising method that we use for our tomatoes, as well as I'm going to talk about pruning. I'm going to go into the varieties and the different kinds of tomatoes, which ones you prune, which ones you don't. And so if you are a beginner gardener, this is a great video. If you're not a beginner gardener and you have struggled with tomatoes and you still have questions, this is a great video. And if you already know it all, it's still a great video, because I want you to put your comments down below and help all the rest of us, right? That's the one thing about this community. We can all help each other. Just because I'm the one that spearheads the channel, it doesn't mean that I know it all. It just means that I'm willing to turn on the camera and show you literally my gardening journey. That's what I do on this channel. So we're going to talk about tomatoes. That is the theme of this video today. Before we jump into the content, I want to remind you that if you are in the market for a GREENSTALK, at the time of this video, when you see it, tomorrow is the very last day of the Mother's Day sale. So many of you have already used my code. You've gotten gifts for yourself, for your aunts, your cousins, your mothers, your sisters. But if you did not get one and you're waiting until the last moment, then tomorrow is the last moment. I do have a code that you can use for an extra $10 off. It's LFF10. LFF10. I'll put it down here at the bottom of the screen. That gets you an extra $10 off. But the sale is a great sale, especially if you want the original, which is the 5-tier planter. Right now it is $109. With my code, you get it for $99. Also, they launched the new 3-tier GREENSTALK, which is $79, and with my code, you get it for $69. So y'all, when the sale is over, these prices are gonna go away. So if you're in the market for a GREENSTALK, I cannot say enough great things about GREENSTALK. If you're brand new and you don't know what GREENSTALK is, it is a vertical gardening system. Just go back through my videos. You will see me talking about the GREENSTALK. I've done several videos over the last month or so showing you me setting up mine and showing you the progress and all that good stuff. So don't forget, tomorrow is the last day of the sale. So let's jump into talking about tomatoes. But first, we got a couple other things that we need to do in the tunnel. But first, I just got to show you something that I just think is cute. Why not? So let me show you. Y'all, do y'all see my little butterfly garden decor? Isn't she cute? Oh my goodness. Y'all, look. Look, look, look. There's another one. I just have them popping up in a few of my beds. I just think it's so, so cute. Plus, I mean, outside of the weeds in the alleyway, just look at this bed. Isn't she gorgeous? Y'all know I love cute stuff. Now, look, we're going to garden, but we can be cute at the same time. We can make our spaces cute, all the things. So I saw these. I've always wanted like some garden decor. I want me a fountain too. That's on the list, but I got to figure out where to put it. Because in here, yeah, anyway, let's focus. But I like the garden decor. I saw these. I got these off Amazon. It came 4 in a pack. So I have them in 4 of my raised beds. I just think it just adds a little, I don't know, a little extra personality. It may just be me. But if you think it's cute, just tell me down below if you think it's cute. If you don't think it's cute, then what your mama tell you? You ain't got nothing good to say. Don't say it at all, okay? But let us what are we going to do first? So we're going to plant up our lemon balm. And then also, I got some more plants. I mean, shocker. I mean, how you going to turn into a gardening channel and the person is not always buying plants? Are they a real gardener if they're not always buying plants? Y'all, I done bought some more plants. So I want to show you what I have bought. And we're going to get to the tomatoes. But let me show you what I have bought. Okay, y'all. So we're going to up pot some lemon balm first. Now, I didn't buy the lemon balm. I actually grew this myself. But this is the lemon balm that I grew. It's time to get into its own pot. Now, lemon balm can be invasive, so that's why I always put it in a container. Last year, my lemon balm grew beautifully. That was the first time I was able to successfully get lemon balm. So I bought this pot at Home Depot. We're gonna fill it up with dirt and put it in there. But what I did buy was a yarrow. I've never been successful. I tried yarrow last year and it never produced anything. And I didn't even start seeds this year. I don't think I had any more seeds. I think I just had the one pack from last year. But I bought this from a local farm close to me. And so I'm going to try it. It's supposed to be pink yarrow. But I was reading and it said that it aggressively self-seeds and can be invasive. So I'm going to actually put this in a pot as well. You guys tell me if you've had yarrow before. If it does, like, I've never grown it, but that's just what Google said. And y'all know I don't like to be surprised. Like, I like the stuff to be contained. If it's invasive, I want to know that up front. And again, I think I'm scarred because my first year gardening, I put mint in a raised bed, and somebody told me, "Oh, that's invasive." I'm like, "What that mean?" And when they told me like it's gonna take over, I was like, "Oh," so I immediately put it into a pot. But had I not, I would have had mint in that bed forever because I've seen other people do that. So I'm always real careful about making sure if it's invasive, I'm going to throw it in a pot. You're not about to be in my raised bed forever and ever, and I don't want you there. Like, you're not trying to live eternal. You're not doing that. Anyway, so we're going to put our lemon balm, and I actually have 2 lemon balms, but I think I'm only going to put 1 in a pot. So let's get our pot and get this planted right up. So what I want to do next is I want to plant a eucalyptus in a pot. So I have, as you guys know, I have that big eucalyptus back there that I grew from seed 3 years ago. Then I have another one in the bed behind this camera that I grew 2 years ago from seed. And then there's another one that I grew from seed last year. So it's 1 year old. It's in the bed, but I want to actually take it out. Now, I have never moved an eucalyptus when it's that big, and I don't even know if I can get it out. I don't know how big the roots are, but I'm going to attempt to get it out and put it in a pot. Let's see if I can. It's hard to even see the second eucalyptus, but let me just see. Wow, I got it out. Now that came out much easier than I anticipated. So the reason why I want to pull it out is because, as you can see, the other one is already pushing up against the top, and I don't want 2 this size in the same bed. Now, when I grew eucalyptus for the first time with that one, I had no idea it was going to get this tall. Like, I had no idea because, again, New gardener, not doing enough research, not asking a lot of questions. I just wanted to see if I could do it, and I did. And it just kept growing and growing and growing, and that's how big it is. But I don't want this one to be in the beds. I'm gonna try to put this in a pot, in one of these pots down here. Let's just see if I got enough dirt. Let's see how tall it would be. It's gonna be like right here. I don't know if this is gonna work or not. Let's see if I have enough soil. And if it doesn't work, I am willing to lose it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have pulled it up. And when I say work, meaning, some plants don't like to be transplanted. It's pretty established. I will get this eucalyptus off and prune it and take the good eucalyptus in the house and water it in and just see if it keeps on. But I think I would rather than be in containers. Now, I'm certainly not gonna try to get these other ones out because they are like 2 years in. This one is only a year in, and it just started growing over the winter. Now, this kind of eucalyptus is a silver dollar, which can get 8-9 feet tall. For the first time this year, I started seeds, and I did one called small leaf gum that only gets to like 3 or 4 feet. I have that one in that I just put in the raised bed over there. I think I may bring that one out if I have another pot and put that in a pot as well. We'll see. Let me see, because I think I'm about to be out of soil, which I always hate. I gotta go buy me some more soil tomorrow. Okay. So we got it in a pot. We're gonna water it in and see what happens. I'm wondering if I should tie it together at the base. I don't know. Just so it'll stand up straighter. What y'all think? See if I can move this over. I'll find me a stick to kind of keep it stabilized. Okay, so I pruned this off, and I'll take this in the house and put it in my shower. Or one of the things I want to do is learn how to make eucalyptus oil. I've never, no, I did dry some eucalyptus, but I just let it sit on my table. I didn't intentionally dry it, but I did dry it, and I used it for some Christmas gifts. And when we did the potpourri, I used the eucalyptus in there. But I want to do eucalyptus oil, but I got to look up how to do it. I'm assuming you let it dry and steep it in some type of carrier oil is what I would think. But if y'all got some tips on the eucalyptus, let me know. I think this would be nice in soap too, but I don't know how to put it in soap. Anyway, we got some possibilities. But for now, it's just gonna go in my house and go in the shower until I got time to look that up. Okay, so I think it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna water it in and then place it where it's going to go. I'll probably get my husband to carry it. So we got the yarrow planted, we got the eucalyptus replanted, and we got our lemon balm. I've already moved that over. Let me see if I have another pot to put the small leaf gum. Okay, so I was able to take the eucalyptus pot. I put it over there by my bed that has my eggplant in it as well as some peppers. But y'all, so far my eggplant is looking okay. The leaves never look completely, once you bring it out here, like in the house, it's beautiful. It's all shiny, glossy green. The leaves look worn, if that's the way I can explain it. I'll show you what it looks like. But I don't have a lot of holes. Like this time last year, I had a lot of holes and pest damage. But I have it surrounded by basil as well as something else, marigolds. But then I put the eucalyptus pot like right in front of that bed. I wonder if that'll deter pests, the smell. I don't know, we'll try it. Last year with my eggplant, I put a pot of peppermint. I had peppermint in a pot, and I stuck the pot inside the raised bed, and that worked great. I had very little pest damage, and my eucalyptus, my eggplant actually grew. So I'll take you over there, but first let me show you what else I bought. So I bought some more coleus. I didn't grow enough coleus. I have one in my GREENSTALK out there. I have one in this bed and one in that bed. The one in the bed behind me, it's like not growing. It's not dead, but it's not growing. I'm not sure why. The one behind me here is growing a little bit more, but I bought two more coleus. I think I'm gonna put one out here in one of the beds, and then one I'm gonna use for a flower arrangement for some planters in front of my house. That's really what I went shopping for today, y'all. I was buying some flowers for these big barrel planters that I'm gonna put, I think, in the front of my house. So I was buying plants for that. So I bought something called Portaluca. It looks like this, but it's eventually supposed to look like that. And then I'm gonna go to a nursery tomorrow. I know, to buy more plants. Because I'm looking for some more Dusty Miller. Yeah, I love Dusty Miller. It's something about that white pop of contrast. It does it for me every time. And then I bought this. This is for my planter. This is some salvia, but it's white. I think anytime you have like a flower arrangement, I always like to have some type of white or something with the colors. I just think it makes it a little bit fresher and brighter. Not that you can't just have colors, but I always like a pop of white. So I'm gonna put this in my planter. And I got some other flowers too. So when I do the planters, let me know if y'all want to see that. It's just some plant, like, I'm just gonna be playing around. That's all. Y'all want to see it? Let me know. Okay, but then I found me a cilantro. So I'm gonna plant that where my other cilantro is. And then I bought 2 poblano peppers. I did a poblano pepper last year. It didn't do nothing. So I'm gonna try again. I bought it from a nursery. So these I bought from the depot. We're gonna put them in this bed right here and see what happens. So let's get those planted. Okay, guys, I gotta go buy some more soil tomorrow, so I can't up-pot the small leaf gum eucalyptus. But let's talk about, so we did get all this stuff in. So I did the 2 poblano peppers, and what else did I do? Cilantro. So let's talk about tomatoes. So I'm gonna turn the camera around so you can see my tomatoes. You can see that already they look great, but they need to be pruned. So this is something that was very confusing to me when I first started gardening, because I would go to the nursery and I would see on the tag where it would say indeterminate when it came to tomato. I had no idea what that meant. And I really saw a lot of indeterminates. I'm thinking, is there something that's not an indeterminate? And yes, there is. It's called a determinate. So I want to talk about the differences between indeterminate tomatoes and determinate tomatoes and why it's important. So when it comes to indeterminate tomatoes, what you're going to see in Home Depot and the nursery, you're going to see 80 to 90% indeterminate tomatoes. That means they grow to an indeterminate height. So they can get anywhere from 7 to 9 feet tall, and they're going to bloom and put on fruit all throughout the summer. Versus a determinate tomato goes to a determined height. It is usually like 4 to 5 feet tall max, and they put on all of their fruit at one time. So it's a determined amount of fruit that comes on all at one time. So those are usually good, especially if you have are doing it in raised beds and you are limited on space. A lot of times you want to choose a determinate variety because it's not going to get 7 and 8 feet tall, and the trellising for that is a lot easier than doing an indeterminate tomato. So hopefully that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, then put a question down below. But indeterminate, it grows to an indeterminate height and it's going to bloom all summer long. Versus a determinate tomato. A good example of a determinate tomato is a Roma tomato. It is a determinate. It grows more in a bush format versus up to 7 to 8 feet tall, and it's going to put on all its fruit at one time. And then it's done. So I do Roma tomatoes in my raised bed in the back of my house. I don't prune those and I don't trellis them. Well, I shouldn't say I don't trellis them. I do have some sticks that I clip them to just so that they can kind of remain sturdy. But I could never take an indeterminate tomato, put it in a raised bed and try to clip it to a stake. That is not going to work. So when it comes to pruning your tomatoes, there's always a controversy of whether you should prune or not prune. Now, when I first started gardening, I did a lot of indeterminate tomatoes, and I will tell you, one of the tomatoes I did was brandywine, and I have never done brandywine since. It scarred me as a new gardener. That thing was so wild, I could not contain it. I barely had any fruit, if any. It was going witch in every way. It was like 9 feet tall. It was so wild. I will never forget. I know exactly where it was in my tunnel. That was my first tomato experience, and it scarred me. I had no idea about pruning. I was not pruning. The second year I learned about pruning and I didn't prune. And then I started pruning in my third year of gardening, and I've pruned ever since. And I like pruning when it comes to indeterminate tomatoes. Now, for indeterminate tomatoes, when you prune, here is the rule of thumb. If you prune your tomatoes, you're going to get smaller fruit. That's the rule of thumb. If you don't prune your tomatoes, they're going to be bigger, if that makes sense. No, let me back up. When it comes to pruning your tomatoes, the controversy is whether to prune or not prune. And I think it's a personal preference. But I will tell you my recommendation. If you have indeterminate tomatoes, to me, it is best that you prune them. One, you can keep them more organized. And I shouldn't say organized. You can keep it more secure, and I guess organized is the right way. Like, it's not all wild and stuff. And then to me, you fight with less disease when you prune, because when it gets all wild, it is hard to take care of the plant, and it's prone to me, more disease issues. Now, a lot of people don't want to prune because they get more fruit, right? So you're going to get more fruit if you don't prune, because remember, when you're pruning, you're taking off what we call the sucker inside the tomato or inside the tomato plant. And I'll show you that when we get to it. But when you prune, you're going to get less fruit, but bigger fruit. So you get less tomatoes, but the tomatoes are going to be bigger, versus when you don't prune, you're going to get more tomatoes. They're going to be smaller. That is the general rule of thumb. Now, to me, when I didn't prune, it was a hot mess. And again, that could have still been, again, because I was new at gardening. I was fighting disease. I had not, dialed into soil and fertilizing and all of that. So it could have been that as well. But since I've been pruning my tomatoes, I get great yields, and it's just easier for me to maintain in the garden when they are pruned. Now, when it comes to determinate tomatoes, you generally do not prune them. Why? One, because they're not getting 7 to 8 feet tall. And two, they're putting on all their fruit at one time. And so there's less need to prune the tomato because it is not growing all throughout the season. So that's my rule of thumb when it comes to pruning. So you're going to see me prune my tomatoes, and everything that I have in the high tunnel and outside are indeterminate varieties. I only do Romas as determinates, and I do them in the back of my house, and we'll be planting those probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So let's take a look at the tomatoes, and I'll show you how they're looking. Okay, so y'all can see the tomatoes have definitely grown, and they're almost kind of like just not completely laying down, but they're certainly not up straight, for lack of a better term. But they're doing great. They look great. We have plenty of flowers, and we also have some beginning tomatoes on a couple of them, which is good. But I am going to start pruning, and then my husband is working on the trellising. So I'm just gonna go through, start the row, and start pruning. Like you can see that right there, it's just, you can't tell one tomato from the next. So let me see if I can go over here and show you. So if I were to stand this tomato up, this is kind of what it looks like. But you can see I have all of this foliage down here. I have suckers starting, all of that. So I'm going to prune this and clean this up. It's hard to show you with the camera with one hand, but basically if I were to leave this plant like this and just let it continue to grow, you see all that foliage that's on the ground, that is prone to disease. For me, I like to keep at least the bottom, I would say 18-24 inches clear at the bottom of my tomatoes, so that way it is little you can see at the bottom. And that way, if you are doing especially if you're manually watering and the water is hitting the leaves, you want to clear that bottom area, because when you keep the foliage on there and the water is hitting up against the tomato plant, it is more prone to pest and disease. So you want to keep that area clear. So I will take off, like I said, the 18 or 24 inches at the bottom 100%, and I will keep that clear, and then I will go in and prune the suckers. So basically the sucker is the V. If you look at your tomato plant, there's going to be like a V. I'll try to show you up close, and there's going to be another stem coming into the V. Let me see if I can take you off the tripod and see if we can get you closer. Okay, so this is a perfect example. So you can see the tomato is actually forming a V, and then right here in the middle, this is the part that we call a sucker that I'm going to pinch off or take off. Basically, when the sucker is there, it is forming a whole new tomato plant, for lack of a better term. So if I leave this on here, this part is going to grow, and it's going to be a whole nother thing. So I prune the suckers now. So like I was saying, in pruning the suckers, you can actually take that sucker that I clipped, you know, and sometimes they get even bigger, and you can actually put that in soil and let it root, and that'll be a whole nother tomato plant. I have done that before. Like if I was, you know, let's say I had a pest issue on a certain tomato and I needed more tomatoes, then I have taken the suckers and rooted them, and that's a whole new tomato plant. But most of the time I don't need them, so I just get rid of them. But I'm going to start pruning and clearing up some of these tomatoes, and then I'll bring you back so that you can see an up-close view, so you can see the difference between what it looks like unpruned versus pruned. Okay guys, it's the next day, and so let me show you the part that I was able to get done so you can see the difference between the unpruned and the prune. And then I'm also going to show you, my husband has started our trellising method, so I want to talk to you about that as well. Okay, so you can see the ones that I've pruned. You see how clear that is at the bottom, and I heavily prune. So I took off all the bottom foliage, including the stems and the leaves. One of the things that you want to make sure is that you always know where your main stem is. So you want to make sure that you trace up your main stem, and then you can snip like I snipped there, and on up. So you can see it's pretty heavily pruned. I know it may look scary at first, but trust me, I'm gonna have tomatoes. I'm gonna have them in abundance. These just need to be strung and trellised up, but you can see all here, it is clear. So I got to about right here, and then, no, I got all the way down to about here. And look, I got like 3 little tomatoes forming right there. So I'll go ahead and take this part off too. So, okay, I got further than I thought. So I only have like 4 more left on this row. So you can see I stopped right there. Not pruned. Pruned. So you can see the difference between pruning and not pruning. So it's going to be a much cleaner look. Now let me take you over here to the trellising that my husband has started to do. We use a string trellising method. So you can see how the tomatoes are going to be strung up, and then we clip them with these tomato clips right there. So he started, and this is what it'll eventually look like. So let me tell you about this method and why we choose to use it. So this is our 4th year using this method to trellis our tomatoes in the tunnel, and we absolutely love it. You would think, can a string really hold that much? Yes, it does. And so what happens is we have those bars that I was showing you that go across. I don't know what the proper name for it is, but some type of bar. And then my husband will take heavy twine or jute string and tie it double at the top. It comes all the way down. He'll secure it at the bottom with a landscape staple, and then we will take the main leader or the main stem of the tomato and we clip it along the stem as it continues to grow with those tomato clips. So y'all, essentially we will use this trellising method. We've been using it for the last 4 years. We love it. As the tomatoes continue to grow every single week on schedule, I will just come out here and I will clip and prune the tomatoes. So as the tomatoes keep growing up and up and up, then I will keep clipping them up and up and up, and then I will prune each week, and that keeps it organized, tidy. It keeps the bottom foliage gone, and it's going to keep the disease and pests more to a minimum. And then the fact that we have drip irrigation, they're being watered at the root level and not with a hose pipe being sprayed with their leaves. Now this method right here is perfect for like a high tunnel or a greenhouse. Outside we use cattle panels, which is another method you can use to trellis your tomatoes. Now outside it makes more sense to use a cattle panel because there would be nothing overhead for us to secure to like we do in the tunnel. But this is a much cheaper method because if I had to do cattle panel in here for the whole 45-foot row that's in ground for the tomatoes, then that's more cattle panels, and I would need twice because I have double the row space. But this is a cheaper method to do it this way, using like the jute or the tomato twine and all of that. Also, I rotate my crops every year. So one year the tomatoes are on the right side and the next year they're on the left side. And so if I were using cattle panels, I would have to move those every year. So this saves us time and it saves us money to do it this way. And it has been very effective, and it just has a nice, neat, organized look. So if you've never tried a string trellising method, I highly encourage you, especially if you have a tunnel or something like that, to try to implement something like that. Again, this is necessary. Now the pruning, again, is optional. Some people choose to prune or not to prune, but when it comes to trellising, if you are growing indeterminate tomatoes, you are going to need to trellis. That is without question. It's whatever method you choose to trellis. There are other methods out there called the Florida basket weave. There's the lean and lower method. So those are some of the top ones that people use to trellis their tomatoes. Now, when it comes to tomato cages, those things that you find in the nursery and Home Depot where it's like inverted, it's wide at one end and narrow at another end, that is not for an indeterminate tomato. That is for a determinate tomato. So when I was going back talking about planting Roma tomatoes, if I was doing Roma tomatoes in a bed, I could use one of those cages, because remember the Roma tomato or determinate variety is only going to get 4 to 5 feet, and it's going to be more of a bush than extending tall to 7 or 8 feet. So the tomato cages work perfectly for that. But if you try to use an indeterminate variety in a tomato cage, very hard for it to work. Very, very hard for it to work, because again, you're gonna have to prune like really, really heavily, but it's just gonna get too big and gonna be unwieldy. Also, I've used tomato those sticks before, and stakes. Those work good again for determinate varieties in a raised bed, but trying to use that for indeterminate, you're gonna need a really, really thick piece of wood, and it's gonna be more on you to keep trying to keep it secured as it keeps going up and up and up. So for us, this string trellising method works. And so what we have left to do is we got 2 rows of string trellising of tomatoes to do. And so my husband is doing it as he has the time. I'll come out here and prune the rest of these over the next couple of days or so. Today it is way too hot. We do not have the shade cloth on, and I can tell the difference. It is 78 degrees today, which we are not complaining. It is not raining so far, but the sun is literally beaming down, which the plants love it until it gets to be too much, which is why we're gonna put the shade cloth on here, hopefully in the next week or two. But I gotta come back out here later when it has cooled off, because it is just very difficult to be out here in the middle of the day with no shade cloth and the temperatures this high. But I wanted to show you that. Now let me show you the eggplant, because I didn't come back and show you the eggplant. Let me show you what my eggplant is looking like. So this is what the eggplant looks like. So it is definitely growing, and it looks better than it has in times past. There's another one right there. So I have some basil planted right here beside it. And then I also have another basil right here. So it has a basil like right there. That's a cinnamon basil. And then this is a regular basil. Then I have a marigold on the other side in between the two. I have another eggplant right there. You can see right beside it is basil, which I actually need to pinch my basil so that it'll grow the way I want it to grow. And then what else? Yep. So I have it covered. And then this is where I put the eucalyptus, y'all. Trying to see if that'll keep the smell away. And so far the eucalyptus looks fine. It's only been one day, but so far so good. But y'all, look, I'm proud of my eggplant so far. It does not normally get this big at this rate without being all tore up. So far it's good. And like, look here, I got it surrounded by herbs. That's thyme right there, right by the eggplant, sandwich in between the basil, another basil. We're trying to protect it on all sides. Okay, y'all, iPhone just put me in timeout because it's so hot in here. Like literally I got a message on my phone, temperature too hot, so I had to wait for it to cool off. But let me go ahead and end this video because it is hot out here. But hopefully you found this video very, very helpful as we talked about the different kinds of tomatoes when it comes to determinate and indeterminate, when to prune, how to prune, and the trellising method that we're using. Plus, thank you for hanging out with me to see all of my cute goodies and helping me up pot some stuff. I would love for you to subscribe if you're not part of this community. Also remember that tomorrow's the last day to grab anything for the Mother's Day sale at GREENSTALK. And remember, gardening is a journey. Let's grow together. I'll see you next time, friend.